What do you do when the other side brings in a witness that isn't being, well, truthful? In today's case, a defense witness gave testimony at trial that was a complete 180 from a prior statement given to a police officer. The state impeached, or at least tried to, on this inconsistent statement by first asking the witness whether she told the police officer at the scene that the defendant had grabbed the victim by the neck. In response to the question, the witness denied ever saying this to the officer. On rebuttal, the state calls that same officer who testifies that the witness did say it, sort of. In either event, the defendant is found guilty of aggravated battery and appeals, arguing in part that the impeachment was improper. Now, impeachment is where you attack the credibility of someone. It's often confused with perjury, but they're not identical. Perjury doesn't require a prior inconsistent statement. Just coming up before a judge and lying first time at bat is going to be sufficient, whereas impeachment does require a prior inconsistent statement, whether it's written or oral. In either event, the appellate court in this case says, hold on, we're going to give a class on what impeachment is and isn't, and we're going to go through this process step by step. First, the defendant's brief argues the state did an improper impeachment under section 115-10.01 of the criminal code, but the appellate court says, whoa, that section is for turncoat witnesses. A turncoat witness is a witness you call that suddenly changes their story on the stand. Here, the witness that was impeached was for the other side. It's kind of a different process. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts, the court discusses what impeachment is not. It's not evidence. It's merely a vehicle to tell the judge, hey, you can't rely on this witness's testimony. Ignore them. So it's not used to show something did or didn't happen, and because, again, it's not evidence, or as the court terms it, substantive evidence. It merely goes to credibility, not proof. If someone accuses someone of saying X and later they're impeached, it's still possible said person did say X if there's other independent sources to corroborate it. Impeachment only goes to the credibility of that witness. So what's the proper way to impeach someone? Well, the appellate court starts by dissecting what the state did wrong, which is vital when you want to properly impeach a witness. To summarize, here's sort of what the state did. State's attorney goes, hey, do you remember what you told the cop? The witness replies, oh yes, I remember some of the stuff I told him. State then responds, do you remember telling him that your cousin, the defendant, choked your friend twice? And then the witness goes, no. The first problem the court points out is how that question was phrased. Specifically, they mentioned that instead of asking if she remembered, the state should have been more direct and asked something like, you told the cop the defendant choked your friend twice, didn't you? Now, notwithstanding phrasing issues, the state then calls a police officer and asks if he remembers his conversation with the witness, which he answers yes. Then the state asks him to recite it from the beginning. Now, during this unobjected narrative, the cop states the witness told him that the defendant grabbed the victim by the neck. At this point, the appellate court notes that choking someone and grabbing them by the neck may be similar, but it isn't the exact same thing, and that's a problem if you wish to properly complete an impeachment. The statement must be identical, not roughly similar. The court also states that when you call a rebuttal witness for purposes of impeachment, you don't ask them to start from the beginning. It's not appropriate to elicit testimony about everything else that occurred during the conversation, only the matter in which you seek to impeach. And the reason for that is because anything outside the impeachment is actually inadmissible hearsay. Finally, the court states, once you call the witness, you lay the foundation. Now, for those unfamiliar, a foundation would be kind of the who, what, where, when, and why. Well, then at that point, they encourage the use of leading questions to complete the impeachment when calling a rebuttal witness. Now, as a little piece of AFLAC trivia, you don't actually need to call the impeaching witness through rebuttal. You can actually also do it through your case in chief as well. So let's recap all of this. 1, the opposing party puts on witness A. Not that's important, but let's say witness A is the party's best friend. On cross, you ask if witness A said X to person B. Let's say that whatever X is damaging to her best friend. Witness A denies saying X to person B. You then call a rebuttal witness, person B, and you lay a foundation. 2, Once the foundation is laid, you switch immediately to leading questions and direct person B to the same conversation that witness A previously testified to. You ask something like, isn't it true witness A told you X? Finally, 3, person B says yes. Now, at that point, the impeachment is complete. There's really no further questions needed. Now, again, this doesn't prove whether the statement X, actually was spoken or even happened. This impeachment only goes to attacking the credibility of witnesses A's entire testimony. Now, the appellate court states that the reason why they took such a sharp turn from their normal, opinion prose is that they felt this case was the poster boy for what can go wrong when proper procedures aren't used, which is why I think every lawyer should bring a copy of this case with them to trial. It's very accessible. It cites all the relevant cases. You can bring your highlighter, highlight the heck out of it for reference. Good use. Anyways, that's all I have. Thanks for watching.